Hello, my friends. Welcome back. I hope you are having a peaceful day. Today, I want to tell you a very special story. It is a story about a queen. She lived more than 2,000 years ago. Her name was Cleopatra. She was born in Egypt, in the great city of Alexandria. It was a city full of knowledge, culture, and beauty. Alexandria had one of the greatest libraries in the world. Scientists and philosophers came from many lands. Cleopatra loved learning. She studied languages, science, philosophy, and mathematics. But Egypt had a problem. Rome was becoming stronger every year. When Cleopatra was 18 years old, her father died. Now Cleopatra became the queen of Egypt. But powerful advisors turned people against her. Cleopatra was forced to leave Egypt. At the same time, a powerful Roman general arrived in Egypt. His name was Julius Caesar. Cleopatra needed a clever plan to meet Caesar. So she secretly entered the palace hidden inside a carpet. Caesar was impressed by Cleopatra's intelligence. Soon they became very close. Soon a war began in Alexandria. Caesar fought to protect Cleopatra's throne. Years later, Cleopatra met another powerful Roman leader. His name was Mark Antony. But Rome turned against them. The final battle happened near Actium. When defeat was certain, Cleopatra chose her own fate. She refused to become a prisoner. Cleopatra became the last queen of Egypt. Her story is remembered even today. After the war in Alexandria, Cleopatra finally returned to the throne. Egypt was once again under her rule. Cleopatra and Caesar spent time traveling along the Nile River. They spoke about history, science, and the future of Egypt. Soon Cleopatra had a son. She named him Caesarion, which means Little Caesar. Later, Cleopatra traveled to Rome. She wanted the Romans to see her power. But in the year 44 BC, something terrible happened. Julius Caesar was assassinated. Cleopatra quickly left Rome and returned to Egypt. She feared for her life. After Caesar's death, Rome fell into chaos. Many powerful men wanted to rule. One of these men was Mark Antony. He was a powerful Roman general. Mark Antony invited Cleopatra to meet him in the city of Tarsus. Soon Cleopatra and Mark Antony became inseparable. Their alliance changed the politics of the Roman world. But in Rome, another man was rising to power. His name was Octavian. Octavian told Romans that Cleopatra was dangerous. He said she wanted to control Rome. Soon war became inevitable. The final battle happened near the coast of Actium. Cleopatra's fleet turned away from the battle. Mark Antony followed her. Mark Antony and Cleopatra returned to Egypt. They knew Octavian would come for them. They tried to prepare for the coming war, but finding allies was almost impossible. Octavian's army was strong and disciplined. Many kingdoms were afraid to oppose him. Soon the final battle for Egypt began. Mark Antony fought bravely, but his army was defeated. In despair, Antony took his sword. But the rumor was not true. Cleopatra was still alive. The wounded Antony was brought to Cleopatra. He died in her arms. Octavian soon captured Alexandria. Cleopatra was now a prisoner. Octavian planned to take her to Rome, but Cleopatra refused to live in humiliation. In the year 30 BC, Cleopatra died. With her death, Egypt lost its independence. Egypt became part of the Roman Empire. Cleopatra became the last pharaoh of Egypt, but her legend never disappeared. For more than 2,000 years, people have remembered her name. Her story still teaches us lessons today. More than 2,000 years have passed since Cleopatra lived, but people around the world still remember her story. Cleopatra lived in a world ruled by powerful men, yet she managed to stand among them. She was not only known for her beauty, she was also known for her intelligence. Cleopatra spoke many languages. She used this ability to communicate with powerful leaders. She understood something important. Knowledge is power. But Cleopatra was not perfect. Some of her decisions were mistakes. She lived during one of the most dangerous times in history. She tried to protect Egypt from becoming part of the Roman Empire. For many years, she almost succeeded. But history sometimes moves in unexpected ways. Cleopatra also teaches us an important lesson. Learning languages can open many doors. Just like Cleopatra learned languages to connect with the world, we are learning English for the same reason. Every new word we learn is a small victory. Every story we hear helps us understand the world better. History connects us with the past, and learning languages connects us with the future. And your journey of learning is only beginning. Cleopatra's story did not end with her death. For more than 2,000 years, people have continued to talk about her life. Historians, writers, and artists have all tried to understand who Cleopatra really was. Many people remember Cleopatra because she was different from other rulers. She was a woman who ruled in a world controlled by powerful men, and yet she managed to stand among them as an equal. People often talk about Cleopatra's beauty, but many historians believe that her intelligence was her greatest strength. She studied science, philosophy, and many languages. Cleopatra understood something very important. Knowledge can be one of the most powerful tools in the world, and learning can change the future of a person or even a nation. Her story reminds us that intelligence, courage, and determination can shape history, even when the world seems dangerous and uncertain. Cleopatra lived in a time when power meant survival. Kings and generals were constantly fighting for control of land and wealth. In this dangerous world, Cleopatra had to make difficult decisions. The ancient Mediterranean world was full of powerful empires. Rome was expanding, and many smaller kingdoms were disappearing. Egypt stood between independence and conquest. Cleopatra tried to protect Egypt from becoming another Roman province. She formed alliances and used diplomacy to maintain her power. But despite her intelligence and determination, history moved in another direction. After her death, Egypt became part of the Roman Empire. Cleopatra became the last pharaoh of Egypt. Her death marked the end of an ancient dynasty that had ruled for centuries. Even after thousands of years, the name Cleopatra still echoes through history. Her story has been told in books, paintings, movies, and classrooms around the world. People are still fascinated by the queen who once ruled Egypt. For many people, Cleopatra represents the mystery and beauty of ancient Egypt. She became a symbol of power, intelligence, and ambition in a dangerous world. Her story is also the story of a great civilization. Ancient Egypt was one of the most remarkable cultures in human history. For thousands of years, Egypt built temples, monuments, and cities that amazed the world. The story of Cleopatra reminds us that history is shaped by people and their decisions. Cleopatra believed that knowledge could change the future. She studied languages, science, and philosophy. Because she spoke many languages, Cleopatra could communicate with people from different cultures. Even today, her story inspires historians, writers, and students all over the world. And in some ways, her story is similar to our own journey of learning English. Every word we learn is a small victory. Every story we hear helps us understand the world a little better. Stories allow us to travel through time and learn from the past. The past teaches us lessons that can guide our future. History shows us how civilizations rise and fall, and it reminds us that even the greatest empires can disappear, but knowledge and stories continue to live on. After Cleopatra's death, Egypt officially became part of the Roman Empire. For the first time in thousands of years, the land of the pharaohs was no longer ruled by an Egyptian queen or king. Now the power came from Rome. The city of Alexandria slowly began to change. Roman officials arrived to control trade, taxes, and the powerful Egyptian ports. But the city remained one of the most important places in the Mediterranean world. Ships from many countries continued to arrive in Alexandria. Merchants from Greece, Rome, Africa, and the Middle East came to trade goods and ideas. The city remained a center of culture and knowledge. Even under Roman rule, the legacy of knowledge in Alexandria remained strong. The famous library had already suffered damage during earlier conflicts, but the idea of Alexandria as a city of learning never disappeared. With Cleopatra's death, an ancient tradition ended forever. For thousands of years, Egypt had been ruled by pharaohs. Now that long chapter of history had finally closed. At the same time, the Roman Empire continued to grow larger and more powerful. From Spain to the Middle East, Roman armies controlled vast territories. Egypt quickly became one of the most valuable provinces of the Roman Empire. Its rich farmland and grain production were essential for feeding the population of Rome. The Nile River continued to bring life to the land of Egypt. Every year, the river flooded the fields, leaving rich soil for farmers to grow crops. Even though Egypt was now part of the Roman Empire, Its ancient culture never disappeared. The temples, monuments, and traditions of Egypt continued to inspire people for centuries. And among all the rulers of Egypt, Cleopatra remained one of the most remembered figures. Her life became a legend that would travel across centuries. For centuries after her death, people continued to talk about Cleopatra. Historians wrote about her life, artists painted her portrait, and storytellers shared her legend. Even today, historians still debate many details about her life. Was she a brilliant ruler trying to save her country, or a powerful leader playing a dangerous political game? What we know for certain is that Cleopatra lived during one of the most dramatic moments in history. She stood at the crossroads between ancient Egypt and the rising power of Rome. Her story reminds us that history is not only about wars and empires. It is also about people, their choices, and the courage to face uncertain futures. Cleopatra's life teaches us that intelligence, determination, and courage can shape the course of history. And when we study history, we are not only learning about the past, we are also learning about ourselves and the world we live in today. Every story we learn helps us understand different cultures, different people, and different ideas. And just like Cleopatra learned many languages to communicate with powerful leaders, we are learning English to connect with the world. Thank you for joining me on this journey through history. I hope this story helped you practice your English and discover something new about the ancient world. If you enjoyed this story, please consider subscribing to the channel for more historical journeys like this one. Until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep enjoying the beautiful stories of history.